Welcome to Zentangle Project Pack number 24. This is day 2. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And we are going to be focusing on aura on this page of the book. And with these tools, I've got my black, red pen, chalk of a color that I got in my project pack. And we're going to work on this lovely book and just taking a minute to appreciate it, admire it, give thanks for the wonderful tools and opportunity we have here to tangle together. And in honor of the first step of the Zentangle Method that we've taught for 20 years, gratitude is the first. So I'm going to start with my 05, and let's start tangling. I'm going to take off and land. I'm going to take off from this side, just sort of make a gentle reverse curve, and land on the other side. And you can watch and pause this video and as much as you need to.
That's an important part of working along with us on this. Stop it at any point where you think you need more time.
So I'm working on a tangle called Betweed. And it is, I put my pen there just to show you, it's going to be a little bit wider than the pen. And I'm aura-ing the previous stroke, and I'm coming off of that at a right angle, and then just coming down and landing on that outside edge. Turning my book each time.
This was one of our first tangles, right?
Yeah. And a great, this is the result of a typo, actually.
That's right, yeah.
Because we were doing this, a blog or something, and a typo, we meant meant to say between, and it went out betweed. And
yeah, I think the title of it was Between a Rock and a Hard Place, and somehow it got into Betweed, and that became the name of the tangle, which was wonderful. We laughed for a long time. That was awesome.
And it's really cool because all of these strokes are sort of going between each other. It reminds me of those like Moroccan sandals, the woven leather.
Oh, it reminds me of those finger puzzles where you'd put your finger in either end and you'd pull it and you couldn't get your fingers out. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting another one over there. And what we did on that side, we're going to do on the other. But I'm going to do a little idea here of hollowbawing as if one of those strands was coming through to the other side. And you'll see where I'm going with that in a minute. So see, like this one is coming through. Where would it come out? It would come out right about there. So starting at right angles, and then gently landing on that outer quote-unquote pencil stroke. Just going back and forth. And so that is our setup. And you can see that these are almost, could be a reticula. And a reticula is our word for a group of sections that could hold tangles. So if you tangle almost anything really big, you can make reticula.
Well, it's a grid of some sort, right? You know, instead of a checkerboard grid or a series of circles or triangles, this would be the vehicle that you would place your tangles in.
So one of the great ways of like framing a tangle inside a reticula is to create a slight aura around it. And that's what I'm doing here in honor of aura. So just creating a space for that one that could be seen to go under the others.
Right. So he just wants to accent those particular ones. Accentuate.
Accentuate, right? And it sort of separates it from the outside, particularly if you're putting ones next to each other.
Ooh, you're doing your famous...
I'm doing my flux.
Flux. Rick's version of flux.
Right. So still with my 05, doing these lovely shapes that...
Sort of a teardrop upside down.
Yeah. And then I'm using a differing pressure, like really light at the beginning and then more firm as, you know, afterwards with that stroke right there. And just however they would grow, they might grow one way or the other. They don't all have to start from the same place. Very organic. Just seeing where that would come out. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And you see how I really draw behind, just hovering the pen over, so you get a sense of, like, instead of guessing where it would come out, you really get the flow of where it would come out the other side.
It's a great habit to be into, because sometimes you think you know, or you're doing it a little quicker than you ordinarily would, and you have to really actually think about it a little bit.
So these particular fluxes have red berries.
Oh, there we go.
So we're just going to take advantage of the fact that we've got this red pen and figure out how to use it. And so I'm putting as big a berry as possible, and even then some, to squish it into the space, and drawing a little tiny circle just to give a bit of a highlight there.
So it appears as if the berries wouldn't fall out because they're being held together by the leaves, right?
And there's lots of ways to do this, this tangle. And I think that's one of the neat things about tangles, is there's not necessarily one precise way, or there isn't one precise way to do it. And you'll see how Maria does hers, or how Martha does hers, and they're all very distinct, yet it has the same ingredients, so to speak. So just wherever there's a space, just stick one in there, maybe two. So that looks sort of cool.
Mm.
And I'm going to restate the pencil, quote-unquote, stroke here on this crescent moon, actual crescent moon shape. Our crescent moons are ladybug shape, which is part of the idea that what we call things doesn't necessarily represent what they look like, because then you're not thinking like, oh, I've got to make a Knightsbridge look like a checkerboard.
Right.
So I'm going to reprise that insert in that, what we could call a reticula, of that one above it that's weaving in. And just really enjoying, when the moment comes, deciding where to put the next element of flux.
So there's no predetermined right way to put the next stroke. It's just sort of intuitive, according to what kind of a shape you're working in.
Right. So I'm letting the tile, or in this case the book, sort of communicate, like take a moment, pause, like where would the next one go, like it was organically growing, and it just goes in. And you might decide to do these above and below each other too. It's in this case, I didn't use any hollowbar drawing behind technique. They're just all right up next to each other. So there's many different ways you could do this.
And I think it's a great exercise to do them differently every time you do it. It helps you to grow in your practice.
And trusting whatever, or better yet, working with whatever comes out. So once it's come out of your pen and onto the paper, or in this case, onto the book, and you've only got one book, okay, now what do I do with this? And you've probably heard this before, but that's part of the ability to respond to something in a creative way. And it draws something out of you that otherwise might not have come out if everything went precisely according to plan.
Oh, these beautiful chalk pencils. There were two blues in the pack. I believe that you either got one or the other. One was a little lighter than the other.
And so I happened to get we all happened to get the indigo blue here. So working with that. And I'm using that to fill up all the little spaces, or what we call the interstices. Just love saying that word.
I know you do, sweetheart.
And just putting the chalk in there sort of casually, because I'm going to be coming back with the tortillon to, invite it into the paper and smooth it out.
I like the colors here, how they go together.
Right.
It's the blue is light enough so that it's not,
it doesn't overpower.
It doesn't look like a flag.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like flags, but sometimes in this kind of a situation with these organic tangles, I like the
looks like the
softness.
Sky.
Yeah.
And you'll see actually the color even changes a little bit because it becomes lighter.
Mm-hmm. I like what the tortillon does with it.
Right.
It softens it.
Sort of looks like, it reminds me of some of the pottery techniques,
Mm-hmm.
on some of the plates we have. So now I'm adding some graphite at the base of those leaf shapes. And we'll take the tortillon and just both invite it into the paper and then draw it out a little bit. And looking at those red berries, I think they need a little bit of shade on them, so we can use the graphite that's on the tortillon to just give it a little dimensionality there, and just a touch, and immediately it changes it. And I'm just putting the touch of graphite opposite the side of the highlight. There you go.
Pretty.
Right?
Like a springtime dishes, like you said.
Yeah. And then do the same to the other one. So one of the things that we taught in the original Betweed when Maria did it is she just did like a heavier stroke at that end to, suggest that part that goes under the one before it. But these were so large that I decided to return to it and put that emphasis in.
I forgot how, and it's really subtle. You don't want it to be big. You just want it to know that it's going under there.
Right? Just a little hint. And we'll do that on both sides.
You can already see what difference it makes, and it's sort of a rounding technique, don't you think, Rick? It's like rounding.
It is very much.
Subtle rounding.
Just slightly filling in that corner there. And then where we put that dark emphasis, we're going to load up that corner with a tortillon. I think I'm getting a new one.
Semi-new one.
Semi-new one. And just softening that and pulling it out. And you can really see now that under, it really emphasizes it going under, and it sort of softens the whole composition as well. And you'll see I'm holding the pencil at a low angle using the side of it. with the point where I can see it going. And then just drawing it out. And at this point, you want to, since this is such a large, relatively larger surface, I'm being careful about where my left hand is and where the palm of my right hand is, because it's a bit of a trick to not pick something up and then smudge it on the other side, and et cetera, et cetera.
I was just going to comment on the size of that we're working. You can see it compared to almost all tangling that we do. This is pretty large, and it's a great exercise to have you see things bigger, just for a change. You might, at some point in time, decide to do something on a large surface, and it takes practice.
Yeah. So it looks very much different there. You get that real sense of over and under, but it still wants some framing. So, or to me, it wanted some framing, and I'm going to shade, quote unquote, the outside area with my chalk pencil, this beautiful blue. Just sort of loading up. It's interesting, on this particular one, I finished like 3 times. It's like, okay, I'm done. And I looked at it, turned it this way and that, and then I'm going to add that. And so this was one of the things that I decided to add. It just wanted more.
Well, I love the new concept of using colored pencil to shade. It's just really kind of a cool thing to do.
Right.
Unexpected. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I just realized I missed one there.
So Rick's taken like his the tortillon that he used on the black, which I kind of like because it makes a more complex blue. Don't hesitate that you have to have everything pure. Like only use a white tortillon on a blue with a blue, because you might miss the opportunity of having it more, what's the word, sophisticated.
Well, and eventually every tortillon becomes
black.
Every black. And you'll see, like on this, so I like that. And then I decide, nah, I'm going to do basically exactly what Maria said, and I'm going to add some even more black there. And you don't even really notice it once it's done.
It makes it stand out more against the white, if that's what you want, if that's what you're looking for. But I kind of like that.
So it's just it's something not just out of the tube or just the pencil. And we talk about that concept also with the tangles. They're not just out of the tube, like, you squeeze out cadmium red or whatever, but you mix them.
Oh, he's going to add some more.
So again, I thought I was done, and I wanted to increase the sense of over and under. So I'm extending the graphite all along the area of where one, in my world here, in this particular betweed, goes under another one. So just laying down the graphite, keeping my hands, off the completed work, and then just softening it a bit.
Well, we usually talk about shading as, putting the frosting on the cake. And some of us like frosting and some of us don't. So you can tell that if Rick was going to talk about frosting, this would be his type of frosting, right?
So I'm doing that on the other side, and you could see in that shot just a little bit of the comparison of what it looks like one side to the other. we had such a good time doing this, and we are so grateful that you're playing along with us, and we look forward to seeing what you create and sharing your books on the app. And we will see you, one of us will see you on the next day.
Yes. See you later.
Bye now.
Bye.